How did it feel when Tommy went to jail? Because that was a pretty slam dunk moment, really.
Well, terrible. The reason that this happened is because he was on steroids. I didn't know that he was on steroids. He was trying to get bigger for me. He's always really skinny, and he's like, it just changed.
Pamela Anderson didn't just throw shade at Hulu. She called their Emmy-nominated Pam and Tommy series nothing less than salt on the wound. Those 4 words weren't just a casual remark. They carried the weight of decades of trauma, exploitation, and betrayal. While Hollywood was busy celebrating awards and record-breaking viewership, Pamela was locked away in her Vancouver home, refusing interviews, haunted by memories she thought she'd buried for good. But this wasn't just a story of an actress upset over a TV show. It was the story of a woman going to war with one of the most powerful industries in the world and winning in a way no one expected.
I didn't know what happened. I thought, is he doing drugs? Is he doing something? Like, what's going on? And he would come after me with these black eyes. I didn't know much about steroids and how it makes people aggressive. But over time, I found out that I think that's what happened.
February 2022, Hulu drops Pam and Tommy, an 8-episode limited series that dramatized Pamela Anderson's whirlwind romance with Motley Crue drummer Tommy Lee and the infamous theft of their private tape in 1995. The cast? Sebastian Stan as Tommy Lee, Lily James transformed beyond recognition as Pamela Anderson. The result? Explosive success. Over 31 million viewers, 10 Emmy nominations, massive profits. Critics hailed it as groundbreaking television. Hulu celebrated like it was a victory lap. But behind those numbers was a darker truth. Pamela Anderson had nothing to do with this project. No involvement, no approval, no consent. To the public, it was edgy entertainment. To Pamela, it was her worst nightmare revived on a massive platform. While fans and critics dissected every detail of Lily James's uncanny transformation, Pamela was suffering in silence. Ryan White, director of her later Netflix documentary, Pamela, A Love Story, revealed the truth. He said the Hulu series devastated her so deeply that even the documentary crew was told not to mention it around her. She took that so hard and so emotionally, it was awful, White recalled. Pamela couldn't even talk about it, not in passing, not in interviews. For months, she shut it down completely. Every time the subject surfaced, the pain was so raw she couldn't find words. Imagine that, the most defining trauma of your life, one you had fought for decades to move past, suddenly repackaged and streamed to millions, and you don't even get the courtesy of being asked. But Pamela wasn't going to stay silent forever. Her breaking point came in 2023 when she released her memoir, Love, Pamela. For the first time, she addressed Hulu's dramatization head-on. I blocked that stolen tape out of my life in order to survive, and now that it's all coming up again, I feel sick. Those words were brutal, raw, vulnerable, and she didn't stop there. In interviews, she declared she would never, ever watch the series. She openly condemned the creators, calling their work exploitative, careless, and deeply cruel. Pamela wasn't just criticizing a show, she was calling out an entire system, one that profits off women's pain while ignoring their consent. But here's the twist. As furious as she was, Pamela never filed a lawsuit. And the reason why will leave you stunned. You'd think someone in Pamela's position could lawyer up and take Hulu to court. After all, it was her story, her trauma, her name, her face, her life. But legally, she never had a chance. Under U.S. law, public figures like Pamela Anderson have very limited protections when it comes to dramatizations. As long as the events have been covered in public records, news reports, court documents, media coverage, they can be adapted into films or TV shows without consent. And that 1995 tape scandal, it was everywhere, covered endlessly by tabloids, written about in legal filings, picked apart on late-night TV. That made it fair game. So, even if Pamela had the best legal team in the world, Hulu was protected by the First Amendment. Her pain was entertainment, and the law was on Hulu's side. To make matters worse, Tommy Lee had a very different response. He reportedly chatted with Sebastian Stan, even gave him tips for playing the role. While Pamela was traumatized, Tommy seemed unfazed. He got to be the wild rock star. She was once again cast as the victim. A stark reminder of how differently men and women are treated when their intimate lives are turned into entertainment. But Pamela wasn't about to let Hulu write the final chapter of her story. While Hulu was busy popping champagne and preparing for awards season, Pamela was quietly working on something that would blindside Hollywood. Her countermove? A documentary of her own. On January 31st, 2023, exactly 1 year after Pam and Tommy premiered, Netflix released Pamela, a love story. This wasn't some unauthorized dramatization. This was Pamela reclaiming her voice. She served as executive producer alongside her sons, giving her full editorial control. For the first time in decades, Pamela was able to tell her story on her terms. Not just the scandal, not just the tape, but her entire life. From her childhood to her activism, her marriages, her struggles, her resilience. It was raw, it was unfiltered, and it was hers. The timing couldn't have been more deliberate. Pamela wasn't just telling her story, she was reclaiming it. The impact was immediate. While Hulu basked in critical acclaim, Pamela's Netflix documentary earned something more powerful: respect. Variety praised it as narrative reclamation. The Hollywood Reporter described it as proof of the power of authentic storytelling. Suddenly, the conversation shifted. Entertainment Weekly, Variety, The Hollywood Reporter all started asking the same question: should Hollywood be allowed to dramatize people's trauma without their consent? The Screen Actors Guild and Writers Guild of America even held panels on representation and consent in biographical projects. Legally, nothing had changed, but ethically, Pamela had lit a fire under Hollywood. This wasn't just about Pamela Anderson. Her fight against Hulu highlighted a problem that affects every public figure, and in some ways, every ordinary person whose private life can be turned into content without their control. Hulu may have won the ratings battle, but Pamela won something far more important: the right to define herself. She proved that you don't have to accept the narrative forced on you. You can reclaim it. You can fight back. And in doing so, she created a blueprint for how others might resist when Hollywood tries to exploit their pain for profit. So when Pamela Anderson called Hulu's show salt on the wound, she wasn't exaggerating. She was describing a system that profits from trauma without accountability. But instead of suing, instead of fighting a losing legal battle, she did something smarter. She flipped the script. She told her own story. And in the process, she changed the way Hollywood talks about consent, ethics, and ownership of personal pain. So now the big question falls to you. Should celebrities be legally protected from unauthorized dramatizations? Or is it fair game once their stories are in the public eye? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if this deep dive opened your eyes to the darker side of Hollywood storytelling, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the stories Hollywood doesn't want you to hear. Because next time, we're diving into Pamela Anderson's sons and how they're reacting to those explosive Liam Neeson romance rumors. And trust me, their reaction might surprise you. Until then, remember this. Sometimes the most powerful response to having your story stolen is to take it back.